I am worried because I think that would introduce a new element to this recovery that we're attempting, which I've called in my blog an air pocket. And I think if we can avoid the air pocket, it's probably better than if we can't. Eventually, we know they're going to do the stimulus because they have no choice. You have 17 million unemployed people, and you have an election coming up. And I do think both sides have to come to an agreement. And forget about the election and anything cynical like that. You cannot ignore the fact that by the time this is over, there will probably be tens of millions of businesses that have closed across the country. And we may be stuck with chronically high unemployment in areas like hospitality, leisure, for years to come. We really don't know how this fundamentally reshapes the economy. So one really important thing that took place this spring that has not accompanied any previous recessions is this idea of keeping the consumer going regardless of their employment status. And it worked beautifully. And I understand there's a bill for that. And that bill will come due in the form of higher taxes and more debt. But I think it's preferable to letting everything go down the tubes over ideology. So I am worried about that. I do think it'll be resolved, though. I'm not permanently worried about that. But I think they have to get on it right now.
When you talk, Josh, about the loss of small business, the businesses that are going to be permanently damaged here, the long-term scarring to the jobs market and to our economy, I mean, does it make sense to you that stocks have wiped out all their pandemic losses?
Well, it only makes sense when you go under the hood and look at what the stocks were that drove that recovery that you're talking about. And unfortunately, and this isn't long-term or forever, but unfortunately, there are huge companies in our economy that have major market capitalization in terms of their weighting in the indices that will thrive regardless of what happens to people in, let's say, the bottom decile or the bottom quintile of the earnings categories. So when you see people, hotel workers, restaurant workers, when you see mass layoffs for them, your assumption is not, oh, no, this might hit iPhone sales. And I know how horrible that sounds, and it does. But at the end of the day, people looked at the effect of large cap tech earnings. They looked at the effect on, large cap growth companies' earnings, and then they looked at who actually lost their jobs. And it's like a double tragedy, which is why I feel so strongly that the government needs to step in and help these people. Because it would be a much worse scenario for us to emerge from this pandemic with even more wealth inequality than we had going into it, and we had a lot. So it looks like right now something will happen, but absolutely, there are probably 20 million, 30 million households in America that are in a daily emergency. And when I then juxtapose that with looking at my stock trading app, it's always bittersweet. It's hard to celebrate a new record high in the S&P, given the fact that so many people are not experiencing anything even resembling a recovery personally. Mm-hmm.